Crocodile Dundee. Hey guys,
Nothing
Tom
more relevant.
LoBianco, right? Hey guys, Tom LoBianco here. Not a Crocodile Dundee fan yet. Joined by Matt Lewis, is like a
G'day.
super Crocodile Dundee stan. And that's, I mean, we were talking about this in the green room, our virtual green room beforehand. So what are the reasons? Before we get to like the heavy stuff, let's talk about what really matters. Why is Crocodile Dundee 2 like really solid?
G'day, mate. Well, you should start with 1. 1 is a classic. 2's not bad.
Oh yeah,
It's
okay.
not bad. It's not bad for a sequel. 1 though, it's a total. Well, you know what they did a great job of is the first half of the movie is Mick Dundee is in the outback. He's in his, fish in water, and the fish out of water is this attractive female journalist who's there to do a profile on him. And then they
Oh.
flip the script and they come to New York halfway through the movie, and he's the fish out of water. And they pulled it off. It was a big hit in the 80s, and I think it's kind of forgotten. I don't think people realize anymore what a big hit that it was. And it holds up okay.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
I've never made a concerted effort before. Did they do a reboot not recently, like 10 years ago of this?
I don't know if they did it. I feel like I've heard rumors that it might happen. If they did, I totally missed it. But I think it's entirely possible that this could be rebooted. Absolutely.
Maybe that's our purpose for being here. Hey guys, if you're watching us on Substack, I'm going to point over here because that's where my screen is with the Substack machine. Do make sure to hit that love button. Okay. The more you hit that love button, the more that we might start like a Kickstarter for a reboot of Crocodile Dundee. All right. Crocodile Dundee storms alligator Alcatraz. I feel like that's like crocodile Alcatraz. Are there crocs down in Florida?
No.
Are there crocs and alligators?
Alligators.
No, okay. Just alligators.
Yeah.
Okay. I can never remember the difference between the two.
Yeah, crocs are down below in
Okay.
Australia. Alligators are in Florida. And I don't know where it starts. South Carolina, maybe you can get crocodiles. Definitely, yeah.
Oh, really?
I think that's where it starts. You got them in, South Carolina and down to the Everglades, I guess. Yeah.
What's the trick? Something I was watching this a little while ago. The trick for alligator wrestling is to stay on top of their snout because they like the mandible or whatever. It has less muscular power that way as opposed to this way.
All I know is, do you remember this about like 10 or 15 years ago when I had little kids? There was a kid at Disney in Florida that was staying at a hotel. It was not a Disney property, I don't think, but all these hotels have little ponds. And there was a kid, they have it on video where alligator came up, grabbed a kid, and that's it. And you know what they do is they like take you down below and they roll you around and all this stuff. It was the most horrible thing.
God.
And then, yeah, and especially I was like a new dad, as I recall, when this happened. So it's like, I'm never going anywhere near.
You know what, man? Politics these days is gruesome enough as it is. So let's talk about like just the general anxiety of like when you're a parent of young children, because right, like my kiddo is 8 now, so it's like I'm getting to that point where I'm like forgetting, like just being a nervous wreck constantly.
It's different. You know, now I have teens, so it's a whole different sort of nervous wreck. But when you're little, it's like, I mean, every once in a while, people will just leave their kids in a car. And it's not funny. I mean, they'll leave them in the car, and it's. And I remember as a young person thinking like, well, that could never they're doing that on purpose. Like, that could never happen. And then I'm like, no, it totally could happen.
Yeah.
The kid falls, you're busy because you're doing a million things and you're tweeting and you're driving and hopefully not at the same time. And you're dropping someone off here and there. And it's tough. It is tough.
Oh yeah, dude.
And it's a game of it's like an arms race where like they up their game, you up there, Yeah, I remember we used to have these fences, portable fences that you would put up to fence them in. And I remember
Oh
like
yeah.
at one point, like my kids defeated the fence and they were crawling and they were sort of like old enough that they could crawl, but if they fell in the toilet, they would have drowned.
Yeah, that's right, man.
And
No, that's right.
it sounds insane to anyone who doesn't have kids or
Yeah.
hasn't had kids, but like it's like these fences were so important
Oh
at the
yeah, dude.
time to
Yeah.
fence them in. Let me tell you this story, man. I could have been blinded. My youngest son had Legos, and he made he took these Legos. He like it was one long. I'm doing a visual graphic
Yeah.
here, and there were like two long Lego pieces, and he went like this, and it was almost like a slingshot.
Oh.
Luckily, I was like reading something on my phone. I was wearing glasses. I
Oh.
never even blinked. I never saw it coming. These things were going like 100 miles an hour, bounced off my glasses. Never even saw it coming.
Whoa.
And this kid was
Dude.
like 9 months old or something. I don't know. Maybe he was like a year and a half. I don't know. Like
Dude.
it's a dangerous world out there. If you're a parent, God bless you. God love you. I don't know how I got on. Obviously, I don't know how I got on this rant, but
Well, because we're talking about quality parenting, and that starts with parking your child in front of Crocodile Dundee 1 and 2.
right.
Even young, I would argue. And no joke, I'll probably be shipped to Canada for this, but whatever. I found Nickelodeon where they re-upped Nickelodeon on the digital archives on Amazon or whatever, like I don't know, a couple of years ago. And I was like, well, this is fucking awesome. Double Dare. Let's do slime everything.
Oh yeah.
And kiddo loves slime at the time. And actually she still does. They love slime. I don't get this generation. They're all into slime, but okay. And I was like, you want slime? I got slime for you. It's called Double Dare. All right. It's buckets of this. Buckets of slime. It's just pouring out of gigantic fake noses. Okay. And I'm flipping through it, and she sees Ren and Stimpy. And I'm like, oh, Ren and Stimpy. Well, it's made in the 90s. It's on Nickelodeon. Can't be that bad. I'm like, let's watch it. All right. Little 6-year-old. That was a bad idea. Should not have done that. There were a lot of questions. Questions. That is not age appropriate for a 6-year-old.
Well, you know what's definitely not age appropriate? South Park.
No.
Based on the latest. Did you? I need to go watch.
I did.
I may be writing something. I mean, I know the general gist of it, obviously, but I may be writing something about that won't be the main theme, but it's adjacent to South Park. So I need to go actually watch the full
episode.
It is,
dude, it is worth it. I'm not gonna say anything other than it's worth it. It is like it's peak form. All right.
Well, my oldest son, who shouldn't be watching it, told me.
Yeah, clearly.
Told me that that the funniest part is that in the beginning, like Cartman is mad that Trump has shut down NPR.
Yes.
Because Cartman likes making fun of the libs who call into NPR or who are hosting it or something. So
yeah, dude, he's like, dude, now that we destroyed all the libs, I can't make fun of them anymore. What the hell?
That sounds like a pretty original, funny. The Trump stuff. I don't know. Honestly, like I have to go watch it to have a full take on it, but it seemed what I saw seemed a little crass and like not that smart.
By the time you get I would say that AI thing, by the time you get to the end, and that obviously is getting the most attention, everything before that, and even leading up to it, just amazing, just incredible.
Yeah, the Cartman stuff sounds great. So I'm
there's I'm not gonna no spoilers. All right. Let's just say I particularly enjoyed the evolution of PC principle.
Yes. No, I've heard about this.
Yeah.
It PC stands for something different now, right? In the post-Trump world, the initials change from politically correct to
power Christian.
Something like that, right?
That's what it is. Speaking of power Christians, Wanted to get your thoughts on what seems to be a limited immunity deal that may be proffered. I have not done
Yeah.
the reporting on this myself. I saw this on the ABC over the weekend with Ghislaine Maxwell. So uh,
It sounds
I
like a
don't.
show. It sounds like a show that's 5 years out. ABC with Ghislaine Maxwell, your host.
Right. I I have to be honest, man. Like I'm flummoxed by this, and my political brain is like, well, what is the purpose of keeping this thing rolling when it's doing so much damage, right? There's no
Yeah.
reason for them to go in and support her, okay, in any way, shape, or form, given all that we know from the court trial, from the court case, and the charges and the sentencing. Why do this? Like, is there a benefit? Or maybe it's just like, whatever, we don't care.
Well, first, you're right. I mean, what are we on week 3, week 4 of this
Yeah.
story? It's
Yeah, dude.
unbelievable. I've never seen Trump has never had a story that has dogged him like this. That just will not go away, despite him trying to change the subject. So look, I guess there's a theory that if you got Maxwell to, let's say, implicate Bill Clinton or exonerate Trump, that would be good. But honestly, like at this point, she's obviously not a credible witness. I mean,
Right.
she's credible in the sense that she was there, but I don't think anyone could trust her.
Right.
And Trump sends down his friend and former personal attorney, now the deputy,
Yeah.
attorney general, to potentially proffer some sort of a deal. You just have to imagine that he's hanging this, and that he would pardon her or something, or reduce her sentence to it seems so fishy. And the only way I can imagine this happening is if Trump wants it to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like,
Yeah, of
in other
course.
words, I mean, we've all had bosses where they get an idea in their head that they want to do it, and you're like, sir, well, and in the case
Yeah.
of Trump, maybe you say, sir. I would say, like, hey,
Yeah.
Bob, this is stupid.
Yes.
Um,
This is a
but
terrible idea.
but they get these ideas in their head, and then you have to go do it. There's no talking them out of it. And so Trump may have just decided that this is how it has to happen.
Yeah.
That's all that makes sense to me. What do you think?
I watched one of these clips. I'm looking at the Substack chat here. You guys, help us out here as we've moved on from Crocodile Dundee to other things.
Wait, I was told this would be a full hour on Mick Dundee.
Okay, we're going back. We're going back. It was Return to Crocodile Dundee. That's going to be the name of the reboot. Barb on the Substack chat says for PC principle, power corrupts. That's a good one. I like that. That's solid.
That's a good one.
Todd Blanche. Well, I was watching this clip of Trump out in Scotland, and I remember last year during the campaign watching him, and everybody loses a step. When you've been at this for a while, he was kind of like glitching. Kind of like John Kennedy, the senator, just kind of like broke for a second. And I'm not gonna knock anybody for that, but when it's your job, like this is your forte. All right. That it can be problematic. I am kind of wondering, people generally do not improve from there. Mm-hmm. All right. If you're having these mental glitches, all right, whatever it is, and I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a physician, I can't diagnose from here. I'm not Bill Frist, okay? I can't do this remote.
There's a blast from the past.
Deep cuts, always, baby. It's deep cuts.
No one
Monday
knows who
here.
He is anymore. He was the Senate Majority Leader, right?
That's right, boy.
Wow.
Remembering when that was the craziest thing out of Tennessee. I wonder how much he's in control of these things right now, because if you look writ large at this administration, Ukraine, for instance, and Pete Hegseth allegedly going rogue and being like, well, we're not going to proffer these weapons. Then Trump turning around is like, no, we are. And you can shoot, presumably these missiles can shoot right into Moscow. All right. It, it makes me overall wonder, how much control he has in this. I mean, certainly that was the thing with Pam Bondi going on there, where, back in February, it's like, okay. And then, again, this is very foundational for why we've been talking about this story for going almost a month now, which is remarkable in this administration. Is, talking out of school, so to say. I do wonder, how much managerial control he has over his own administration right now.
Well, he's always, he's always kind of liked to have some people freelancing and, I think that gives him some plausible deniability. He pits people against each other, and he'll let them kind of hang themselves, and then it's not entirely. See, that's the problem with Trump. It's like, yes, it's chaotic, but it was chaotic in the first administration too, in some ways. And like, it's hard to say, like, is this a sign of deterioration, or is this just, he's always been crazy? And so it's really hard for me to disentangle. I will say, when you go back and you watch him, say like in 2016 in a debate or a speech, or even in 2020, you can definitely see that Trump is aged and that he's different, and just his rhetoric is different today. But he's always been chaotic and strange, and doing things that were, certainly not what they would teach at a Politics 101 workshop. So it's hard to judge, really.
And things have changed so much. Speaking of chaotic and hard to pin down and hard to understand what's going on, presumably, or at least this is what Howard Lutnick told us, August 1st is when the majority of these tariffs start going into effect. So what's your understanding of this? And I feel like I should stop calling them tariffs and calling what they are import taxes. And what's your sense of this?
Yeah, look, it's so weird, right? He had the Liberation Day, and we actually did start to see some negative ramifications from that. And then he pulls back, and what was it? It was a 90-day pause. I mean, there were still higher tariffs than normal, but nowhere near as steep as he originally implemented. And I just saw a clip, like a short of Bill Maher, and Bill Maher was saying, look, I thought the tariffs were going to be catastrophic and really bad for the economy, but it hasn't happened. The stock market's up, everything's fine. And so maybe we need to rethink this. And I'm thinking, yeah, but we didn't really get the full tariffs that Trump implemented. He remember, he tacoed, he backed off of it. He tacoed.
That's right.
And so as someone, like, I would really like for people to learn something. Like, in other words, ever since Smoot-Hawley, we've learned a lesson, which is that tariffs helped, worsen the Great Depression, and that they're generally a bad policy idea. And then I was hoping, like, I'm against the tariffs, but if Trump's going to implement them, at least we could learn something from it. But the way that Trump did it and the way he tacoed, it's sort of the worst of both worlds. Like, we haven't learned the lesson from it. And so now people like Bill Maher think, oh, tariffs are fine because Trump, like, if we're going to do it, do it. And so I wonder now, like, is he actually going to go through with it? Like, to what extent will we actually go through this whole charade again? Is he going to back down again? Or is he going to fully implement them? I mean, it keeps happening where he'll say, like, well, we've got to deal with Japan. And Japan's like, what are you talking about? Like, I have no idea. And so it's almost like he's going to come up with deals to prevent his own policies from going into effect, whether the other side agrees to it or not, just so he doesn't have to actually crash the economy. He did this with Coca-Cola too. It wasn't about tariffs, but with the sugar thing, when he announced that they're going to go back to cane sugar, and they were like, really? Oh, yeah, I didn't know that. And then they put out a special Trump version.
Right. They just, which of course was Mexican
Yeah, it's the
cola.
same thing as Mexican Coke, which I'm
Yes.
willing to believe tastes better. There's,
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
not going to
I'm
push back on
sure.
that, but they should call it, instead of Coca-Cola Classic, they should call it Coca-Cola Coercion, the
Yes.
Trump's the Trump brand.
Coer- Coercion classic.
Coercion Classic. Yeah.
I always invariably when we're talking about added sugars and sodas, I always think about the most famous power play. Who was Bill Clinton on the phone with when Lewinsky was in the Oval Office with him? Do you
Dick
remember?
Morris, right? Or am I wrong?
Oh no, he might have been on the phone. Yeah, I guess it happened a couple times.
I could be wrong.
Might have been Dick Mars. It was the I think it's the Van Hoels. It's the sugar barons from Florida
Mm.
who were negotiating with his. And I'm going to screw up their last name. Guys, if anybody in the audience knows the name of these sugar barons, I could Google it here in a second. But he was on with them, and it reminded me of when Trump was out in Iowa the first time he ran for president, and he committed what used to be. I mean, there are no cardinal sins in politics anymore, aside from keeping the campaign of the guy that dropped out of the race. I think that's a cardinal sin. Everything else, I'm not sure, sir, anymore. Um, he was saying Ted Cruz was like, he's like, yeah, we're not going to do these corn subsidies anymore. Like,
Yeah.
and that was a ballsy move,
This
right?
is
Like,
going
I
into
mean,
Iowa, right?
yeah,
Where
going
everyone, even
going to
John
corn.
McCain said he drank a gallon of ethanol every morning with his cereal or in his
That's
cereal or
right.
something. Yeah.
And Trump's like, no, we're going to keep all the corn we want.
Yeah.
Corn for years. Okay. Um,
A lot of
I,
people like it. No, it's yeah, he pandered. Trump cut the legs out from under any of the principled conservatives who wanted to do things that were like, I don't know, entitlement reform,
yes.
But then look, let me just say this.
Yeah.
Sugar has killed more people than fentanyl, has killed more
Yeah,
people
that's right.
than you get on the list. Like sugar has probably killed more Americans than than cocaine, certainly.
Yeah.
Um, and so but it's so funny that we you know protect this stuff
Yeah.
and yeah, that's what we do.
Um, loyal listener and friend Ian Walters has our name check for us from the Cuban expats of South
Mm.
Florida. Alfie and Pepe Fanjul, the sugar barons down there. I think that's is that Florida Crystals? I can't remember. It's one of those ones down there. But it's remarkable. Have you ever spent much time in Miami or
Oh
South
yeah,
Florida? Yeah,
yeah.
a different world down there. I
I
mean, might
love
as
it.
well
I
not
love
be a
it
part
down
of.
there, man.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah,
I love it.
absolutely.
But no, but Florida has a different vibe. It's sort of like they're really rugged individualists. Like,
Yes.
they'll just be zooming around on motorcycles without helmets and like they're wild, which I
Yes.
love. I love visiting
Yes.
down there. Yeah, I talked to Dave Barry one time on my podcast,
Oh, wow.
who's lived
Nice.
in Florida for many years now, about the culture. He has like a whole take on what makes Florida unique and exceptional and weird. And I think
Awesome.
the alligators contribute to this, of course. Yeah. Call back.
Yeah, baby. That's right, baby. I wanted to ask you about the midterms here. We're starting to see some movement in these races. Texas looks like it's going to be very interesting. My colleague Julie Grace over at 24 Site has been doing some reporting on some Georgia machinations. I feel like we're going to start seeing this pretty heavily after everybody gets back from vacation. Um, what is your sense of overall the map right now? Who's up? Who's down? Where kind of the weak spots for Democrats and Republicans?
Oh, I mean, I think I'll just go with the conventional wisdom, which is it should be a very good year for Democrats.
Hmm.
I think Democrats take back the House, despite the gerrymandering that's going on in
Hmm.
Texas, where Trump is trying to give them 5 additional House seats in Texas. You got to be careful with that redistricting. What for a
Yeah.
state that's already been gerrymandered to begin with, and you want to tinker, you could actually overstimulate the economy. you could over tinker with that and end up losing otherwise winnable seats.
Yes.
So I'm not convinced that the gerrymandering is shrewd and is going to work. And even if
Hmm.
it does, I just think Democrats are going to win the House. It's just history, the environment.
Yeah.
The question is the Senate, and I think it's plausible. We just saw. Governor Cooper, right?
Yeah.
Roy Cooper announced he
Yeah.
is running in North Carolina. I think that's got to be a lean Dem seat now, right? That's an open seat
Yeah.
that has to be lean Dem. That's a pickup. Texas, the Senate race in Texas could be very interesting. You've got this,
Yeah.
multiple candidates, including this James Tallarico
Oh
kid.
yeah.
Can't call
Right.
him a kid. He's 36 years old, I think, but very eloquent.
Yeah.
Christian, comes across, he's a progressive, but comes across
Hmm.
as moderate. Very eloquent. He was just on Joe Rogan's show. Did
Yeah.
incredibly well. Rogan told him he should run for president,
Very interesting. Yes.
and and Republicans are fighting it out on the right. You could have Paxton end up beating Cornyn in
Yeah.
a primary down there, and then you could have Paxton potentially be vulnerable to whether it's Tallarico or someone else.
The
I think
Colin
there's
Allred perhaps again,
yeah.
or Jasmine Crockett. Remarkable bench for the Democrats. I also saw. I don't take this to be real, but I also saw Beto O'Rourke has not announced his plans for 26. But I feel like his time has passed.
Well,
Um,
I think for the sake of Democrats, he should bow out this one anyway. I mean, Colin
right.
Allred, I think they occupy a similar turf probably,
Yes.
and they can end up splitting the vote, and Crockett wins. And
Yes.
I mean, look, who knows, right? But my guess is Crockett would have a harder time winning in
Yeah.
Texas. Now, look, you
Yes.
could argue, go all in. It's AOC, baby. It's
Mm-hmm.
uh, what's Zoran
Zoran Mamdani.
Mamdani.
Yep.
But look, this is Texas, not New York. So I'm
Right.
inclined to
Exactly.
think that Allred or Tallarico would have a better shot than Crockett. But look, I think it's not crazy to think that they could pick up that seat if Paxton is the nominee.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was reading this in Semaphore with Burgess Everett, incredible premier Senate reporter. We used to cover the Senate for years and years at Politico. Is now over at Semaphore, and I love reading Semaphore. I think they do some of the best reporting. It's very much a
Paid for
reporter.
by Semaphore.
That's right, exactly. All right, come on, guys. um, I don't do 3-month invoices. All right, pay up front. I think it was him. He had this that there's some chatter behind the scenes that the Trump folks might even get on board with John Cornyn. Like that's how much they don't want Paxton right now.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable. I mean, Cornyn, in my mind, will forever be, aside from the former AG, um, one of the Johns in Senate leadership for forever, along with John Kyle back in the day out of Arizona, is a McConnell guy. I mean, he was McConnell's right hand man for years, and I'd argue, still is in that spot. And that's how worried they are, or they seem to be worried about Paxton, about the electability. All right, they're going to go with a squish,
Yeah.
potentially, instead of going with. I mean, Paxton. If you go with Ronnie Jackson down there, Paxton is to the right of all of them. All right, and
Yeah.
it's
Is Ronnie Jackson running officially, or is he just floating that idea?
everything. we are in that weird, the interregnum right now.
Yeah.
This is why I'm glad we're talking about this now as opposed to a month from now, where, all things are possible. Everybody's a presidential candidate until they say no. All right. As long as you float your name properly, do something crazy, but don't end up in jail because you're not Trump. You don't have
Yeah.
presidential immunity. All right. Or perhaps land in jail, then run it up to the Supreme Court and see if a 6-3 split will hold for you. Yeah, Ronnie could run. I mean, shit, Joe Barton could run. Why not? I don't even know if Joe Barton's still alive anymore. The old House Energy and Commerce chair out of Texas. But I don't know. I don't really take the Ronnie Jackson stuff too seriously.
Well, maybe he runs and they split the vote, and that's a way to get Cornyn in too, right? I mean, wouldn't Ronnie and
Yeah, stalking
Paxton?
horse.
Yeah,
That's
they
a
would.
good play.
I mean, it could be. Who knows? But Trump can be very pragmatic at times.
Yeah, he is.
And he's certainly not an ideologue.
I mean, right.
He likes loyalty. He likes. I think he would prefer Paxton as a
Yes.
MAGA person in a perfect world. But if he thinks Paxton has a chance of losing, he would throw him under the bus, I think.
Right. And his life gets a lot harder. I mean, everything, all things are regarding him. And actually, kind of comes back to our grounding in reality of the actual importance of Congress. No matter how much power has been ceded, no matter how much has been listening to some Russ Vogt discussions recently, and this talk of rescissions. And putting more power with the executive, but that is still couched within the reality of you need to have votes in Congress for that to happen. All right, that's what we just went through a few weeks ago. And some and folks, if you're not already signed up, do subscribe to 24 Site News. Julie Grace Brufke, my colleague, had some incredible reporting on that. Many sleepless nights on the big beautiful bill, and then rescissions. Congress is nothing but sleepless nights these days.
Yeah, I made an argument before the election. It's like, if you want to hedge your bets, vote for Kamala, because if Kamala wins, she will face opposition from divided government. She will have a Republican, Senate, certainly. But if Trump wins, he probably will have, undivided government, and that's what we've had. And so if Democrats are able to take back the House, and I still don't think they could take back the Senate, but you never know. But if they were able to get both chambers, then I think you could start to see some real accountability, and they really would have some power to hold him accountable for the first time.
Well, and it goes back to what you've said this repeatedly now, and I think it's very important. And folks, if you're not subscribed already, go make sure find Matt Lewis on Substack and YouTube and all other quality social media platforms, because you've been talking about the reality of lame duck status, and in a typical second term. Assuming Trump does not attempt a status coup and tries to stay in office past 2028, it becomes about nominations as legacy, and and there's your problem in the Senate, right? I mean, if Chuck Schumer or Chris Murphy or whoever, or Brian Schatz is the new Senate majority leader, all your nominations are out the door at that point. So
including Supreme Court nominees, which lifetime appointment, and you never know. So that would be huge if Democrats could take the Senate. But I still think it's unlikely, because they would need to win 3 seats, and because they would need 4, right? Because JD Vance is the tiebreaker. So it seems
that's right. Yeah, that's a heavy lift. North Carolina, so Ohio. I'm trying to think about which one is Ohio right now, because I think they have to. Is it Husted is the placeholder in Ohio right now, and then they're going for the rest of Vance's term. So that's a Republican. All right. I think the last time I looked at the Cook political report, that's still likely are Florida. Boy, talk about changing bellwethers, man. It used to 20 years ago, it was Ohio and Florida were your bellwethers, your big swings. Florida is considered a safe R right now. Really astounding. And then I think you have to look at Minnesota. They count as a soft Democrat. That's very fascinating. But the rest of the map is, so much on the defense for the
Yeah.
Senates right now. Not a lot of pickup opportunities. And I I think they will be chasing statewide blue Texas for the next century before that ever happens, if it ever happens.
Well, I mean, the Democrats have real problems,
Yeah,
clearly. And when you start to look at like Senate maps, you can see part of the problem. It's really tough, and I mean, it wasn't that long ago when they had two Democratic senators in North Dakota.
that's right.
I mean,
Yeah, man.
and then
Uh,
obviously Montana, so
yeah. Tester held on for a very long time.
yeah, West Virginia. I
Mhm.
mean, that's not going to be Democrat anytime soon.
I mean, God, the guy who's there right now used to be a Democrat up until what,
Yeah,
3 years ago?
Justice. Yeah,
Who was that? Who was that lunatic? Was it Blankenship, the mine owner that ran with that ad last time,
I think so.
where he's like, if you see me hanging off the side of the bed in the jail cell, I want you to know I didn't do it.
Yeah, I
It
think
wasn't
that's
me.
right. Yeah,
Maybe you know what, man? If you really want to go Gonzo, Democrats need to go find more people like Blankenship.
they do. I think they may have to. I was thinking about this the other day. You know how like yeah, the,
Yes,
the Democrats have like the New York Times and all these mainstream outlets that like them. And I'm like, it may be so bad that the Democrats have to find a way to make the New York Times hate them. Like,
right, dude. That's
really
bad.
go, they may have to just blow this thing up and just
Yes.
start over,
Dude,
and totally redefine everything. And I get why they would try to hold on. Usually you're like, let's shore up our bases.
yeah.
We're already hurting. We can't afford to alienate what few friends we have left. We better shore up our support, keep our base happy. It may be time to pull the ripcord and just like totally blow things up. But I think probably the best way to do that's with the nominee, the way that Trump did it. I mean, the Republican
Yeah.
Party, they didn't have some grand idea of like, let's get Joe Rogan to like us.
Right.
And then launch a campaign to make that happen. Like that. No, it happened because of Trump, because
Yeah.
of the nominee. And so I think that it may happen organically, and really the key will be getting that right person at the top of the ticket. And if they do that, then other things will fall in line.
I'm with you. I think that, um, I think that, and we talked about this last week. Um, Democrats did not have they started to have their reckoning, and it was forestalled for X number of reasons in 2016. Started happening again. And I'll never forget this, because for years I to me, the guy who won Iowa in 2020 is the tiny little South Bend mayor who with the weird last name. All right. Now he's a rock star.
Buttigieg, we're talking about, right?
Exactly. And the fact
Yeah.
that people know how to say his last name. There are people, when I was covering Indiana 14 years ago, there were Hoosiers in politics who didn't know how to say that guy's name. All right. And admittedly, it is a very strange name. All right. Like his last name's good. That's a tough one. All right. Now it's, people know it. They know him. All right. So it was forestalled with COVID and with the old establishment rallying behind Biden. 24 was 24. So this could be the first time that you have a real smash down, knock down, drag out fight among the Democrats for what the party is
Yeah.
going
But
forward.
what's really kind of sad to me is that, we're always fighting the last war. And
Right.
so Democrats, if you're a Democrat, you could really make the case. It's like, look, we tried to be the party of institutions. We tried
Right.
to be the sane party.
Right.
America doesn't want that.
Right.
So let's Go, let's fly our freak flag. Let's be who we really want to be.
Yes.
And you know what the problem with that is that in 2028, maybe what would win is a vanilla candidate, because Trump's not
Yeah.
going to be on the ballot in 2028. And
Right.
so it may be that just a boring, standard issue Democrat would beat JD Vance. But if you nominate Zoran Mamdani or something, or
Yeah.
AOC, then normal Americans, a lot of average, middle
Yeah.
America, can't bring themselves to vote. And so Democrats lose again.
Did you see one person whose name I don't hear a lot about? And I should note too, the political presidential primary industrial complex that exists out there. I mean, we got Glenn Youngkin like flying out to Iowa, like people who I'm pretty certain, even if they run, will have the standing of one of the gyms out of Virginia, so Webb or Gilmore. All right, perpetual. Okay. But there's one person whose name I have not heard a lot about. And the fact I'm not hearing a lot about it makes me wonder, is Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I think he fits that bill.
I think he's great. I think the problem with Josh Shapiro is he is a politician.
Oh, yes.
And it just may simply be that there's no place for politicians in American politics today. That's a hurdle too big. That's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
The Democrats need The Rock if they're going to actually get their act together, or AOC. I mean, AOC is a politician, but she doesn't read like one.
Right.
Bernie, same thing. Bernie's been a career politician, but he doesn't feel like a politician. And so that's if I had to like look for a knock on Shapiro, whom I like a lot, but it would just be, he seems like a professional, competent politician.
Right.
And maybe in 2028 we'll be ready for that again. But I would say for the last decade, it's kind of the last thing you want it to be in politics, was someone who looked like a politician.
You think they're able to pull Mark Cuban in?
I think that if I were betting who the Democratic nominee would be, you remember how like Special Report used to have this thing where they give you like $100 and you could bet on a candidate. Remember that? You get chips. So every pundit would get $100 worth of chips.
Awesome.
And it would be like, I'm going to put $25 on Rubio. I've got 25 on Scott Walker. I'm putting 10 down on Cruz, and the rest I'm betting on the field. So if you did that to me, I think I would probably put $50 on either Cuban or AOC, and then $50 on the field. So I think it's a 50% chance the nominee will either be Mark Cuban or AOC.
Yes.
Maybe I put down, another 15, let's say, on Shapiro.
Yeah. I think there's something that, you hinted at this with AOC and Sanders and how they present versus Shapiro. Something which a lot of people miss about Trump and why he was so successful in the Republican primary is because he had been a pop culture figure for decades prior to actually running, and also had been testing the waters of presidential runs for years and years as an independent, as a potentially Republican in 2012. So he had that core of like recognition as a brand, all right, in pop culture, in American pop culture. About this is of course talking strictly in horse race terms, because obviously the brand is not close to the reality of the human. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of like, what Democrat would fit that bill. Maybe a Gavin Newsom, but he has the problem of being known as a politician. Cuban, I think, does potentially, but nothing close to where what Trump walked into in 2016.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm not a big fan of fan's the wrong word. Um, I'm not putting a lot of chips on Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
I'm really not. I'm not putting a
Too
lot of
smarmy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not putting a lot of chips on Pritzker.
Mm,
These guys are politicians.
yeah.
That's just not going to work. Um, I think it's, again, I think it's AOC or Cuban versus the field. Now, look,
Mm.
I've I am not an expert on Democrats. Like I'm, well, once upon a time I was an expert on conservatives, but
Yes, I know.
that's but so, Democrats ought to do what they want to do, and I suspect that they won't factor in my commentary, but that's just the way I see it. I think that you know being a politician now is the one kind of unpardonable sin, and
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, Bernie's a politician, AOC's a politician, but they don't
Yeah.
feel like politicians. Cuban's
Yeah.
not a politician. So I just think that's where it is. But I will say this too, Tom. Um, you know, a year ago, I didn't know who Mamdani was, and
Right.
now
Right.
I do.
Right.
And a year ago, I didn't know who Tallarico was, and now I
Yes.
do. And
Right.
so I think that we are starting to see the future of Democrats
Yes.
emerge, and I think that it's going to be one thing these two guys have in common is they're both on TikTok, and they're able
Right.
to make the communicate in a way that these videos go viral and they can
Yes.
have a message. So I think that we're starting to now see the next generation of
Yeah.
Democratic leaders begin to emerge. And, at this point in other cycles, I'm not sure we had a good handle on who the nominee was going to be. Remember when
Yeah.
George Allen was going to be president? I mean, I think what in 2005, I believe it was, which would be about this same point in the
Mm,
'08 cycle. So in 2005, all the experts ranked, Hotline, their national journal or something.
yeah.
The experts voted on who was going to be the Republican nominee, and it was George Allen came in
Wow.
easily first place. So that this is all to say, like we see through a glass darkly,
Yeah.
and the person who emerges, um, may be somebody that no one's predicting.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. We don't know yet. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up here, man. What's on deck for you? What are you watching this week?
Well, it's Monday. I'm just trying to get my bearings. I'm thinking about writing about, well, a couple things. One, I did a person. I've been wondering for a long time, like, why is it that I wasn't a big Trump fan?
Hmm.
Because I'm from a very rural area.
Yeah.
I grew up in a, Christian family household.
Yeah.
Why didn't I become Trumpy? And I always had theories. Like one theory was I'm Gen X, and Gen X we're contrarian, and we don't like selling out. But I'm like, it turns out Gen X loves Trump, so it can't be
I
that. And I'm like,
no.
well, it could be that my faith and that we were taught about character, and I'm like, well, actually, evangelicals tend to be Trump's biggest supporters, so it can't be that. I just did a personality test, and it
Oh.
turns out there's like five axes
Yeah.
of your personality. I am the exact opposite of Donald Trump in all five categories.
Really?
And I'm so rare, less than 0.5% of American men have my personality type.
No kidding.
And so now I'm thinking like it just might be that
It's you.
viscerally, whereas like he's an extrovert, I'm an introvert. He's this, like you go down the list and we're just opposites on everything. So maybe it was just
Wow.
destined to be. Maybe it's as simple as that. I always wanted to posture that it was like I'm a hero and it was a moral
Yeah.
thing. But it turns out maybe it's just like a visceral reaction to someone who's sees the world entirely opposite as I do.
Is this okay? So, like, when I think of online personality tests, I think of like, which Scooby Doo character are you?
Yeah.
It's like you enjoy weed and eating a lot. Like, it's like I always ended up on Shaggy. Like it just that's. Is this like a serious one? Is it like a 10,000 point? Was it
It's
Myers Squibbs or Bristol, whatever one?
called 16personalities.com.
Okay.
16personalities.com. You can do a free personality test. I have to say, without not having done a deep dive into the Myers-Briggs or whatever the most accepted is, it rings true. Like everything that I read that they told me about me seems like, wow, okay, oh, it makes sense now.
I'm gonna do this.
Anecdotally. So yeah, I think that's just gonna be like, I'm just writing like a Substack post about that.
Nice.
Today.
I like
I
this.
have to figure out how to end it.
Dude, I'm totally gonna do this. I gotta
totally
find
should,
out. Yeah, man. I'm gonna be horrified to find out like I'm basically Trump. I'm like
I don't think we're gonna find that out. I don't think we're gonna find that out.
No, maybe with power Christian principle, PC principle. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I'm Tom LoBianco, editor, founder, 24 Site News. This is Matt Lewis. Matt K. Lewis. There's a lot of Matt Lewises out there.
Yes.
There's some number of Matt K. Lewises, but not as prominent as this Matt K. Lewis.
Well, it's like if you're a serial killer, you got to throw in Earl,
That's right.
Well, in my case, Kenneth, as the middle name. But by the way, did you see Derek Thompson's piece?
I was reading that. That was very sharp.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
That there are fewer serial killers today for a variety of reasons than there used to be. But they all have middle names. They're all middle named Earl for some reason.
This is why it's like, I was reading that yesterday. I had on some Amazon Prime baseball. I was watching the Padres and the Cardinals, and I was reading through this thing, and I think what was most captivating about it is like you take like one of these like hardcore policy people, and he writes about it in that style, which is very, matter of fact, policy oriented. And then, after like 2 or 3 graphs, you realize it's like, oh, well, the matter of fact here, he's talking about people that murder for a fucking living and like why they murder religiously.
Yeah.
Yeah. For fun. It's actually, it's a fascinating
It's
read.
worth reading. Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant.
On Substack too. So
on the Substack.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next week. I don't have a guest lineup this week because I took the weekend off. I slept. So go find on 24 site. I'll be announcing who's coming up this week. And I'm sure it'll be riveting. It might just be replays of Crocodile Dundee. I'm kind of tempted.
Clamoring for more Crocodile Dundee commentary. There's just not enough of it.
This is what I'm saying,
Enough with you and your clickbait, Tom.
Feed Ghislaine right to the crocodiles. All right, guys. We'll see you. Peace.